Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the SAPRO Best Recycled Products Awards ceremony. I'm Bill Marshall, and I'm going to be your pilot today. And first of all, welcome to all our sponsors, to our guests, and the participants, all of you, to this biennial SAPRO Best Recycled Products Awards ceremony. Today marks a very important day in SAPRO's calendar as we acknowledge, celebrate and reward design innovation by our entrants and showcase the remarkable range of products produced using locally collected post-consumer plastic and proudly South African recyclate. The awards serve to promote and showcase these ingenious products and form the cornerstone of SAPRO's strategy to grow demand for recyclate and to improve market acceptance of locally manufactured and recycled plastic products. We hope that this showcase will inspire our guests and encourage brand owners, converters, and industrial designers to consider using recycled content in the products they create or reimagine, thus promoting a truly circular economy for plastics. The awards ceremony are being hosted for the first time as a virtual event due to our beloved COVID-19 and all the restrictions that go with it. So before we move on and before I introduce Phil Seremi to give you a nice formal introduction and welcome, I'd like to encourage you to relax, kick back, enjoy the experience. This should be fun and entertaining, and don't worry about all the technical stuff and everything that's going to go wrong. This is all managed by someone else. We can blame them. The team at Digital Access must control everything for us. And let me normally start off the award ceremony like this with a few housekeeping things like turn off your cell phones and you don't have to worry about that. I tell you where the loos are. I certainly hope you know where they are, wherever you're sitting. And if you have a parking problem, speak to the people at Digital Access and they will cover the cost of your parking wherever you are, I'm sure. So now we'll move on and introduce Phil Seremi, who is going to give you a nice formal welcome to this afternoon's proceedings. Welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Bill. Good day, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome and acknowledge our entrants, SAPRO members, stakeholders, the media, and our distinguished guest speakers. I welcome our judges who spend hours of their valuable time to analyze and verify each of the entries submitted. Most importantly, I would like to thank our sponsors, IREMA and Polyco as our gold sponsors. Silver sponsors, Petco and the SA Plastic Pact, Plastic SA and Packaging SA as co-sponsors. Our sponsors have made it possible to host today's event. I welcome SAPRO Chairman, our board members, and finally my fellow host, Bill Marshall, as the Master of Ceremony and Extraordinaire, all protocol observed. Today we are celebrating the contribution, ingenuity, and achievements of our proudly South African plastic recycling industry. It is the first time for me to be part of this important event, and indeed the first time the SAPRO Awards are hosted virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves operating in an extremely volatile economic environment, compounded by the challenges imposed on us by the pandemic. But the industry is marching on to do what they do best. All the role players in the value chain have displayed considerable resilience in weathering the challenges, and they continue to divert thousands of tons of plastic material from landfill, processing it to value-added products. The range of products featured later on in the program attests to this effort. As you know, the SAPRO Best Recycled Plastic Product Awards are designed to demonstrate the potential for use of recycled plastic in a wide range of consumer products, supporting a truly circular economy of plastic. Furthermore, through exposure to these products and use thereof, consumers experience the outcome of their recycling effort and responsible consumption. All of this will not be possible without the thousands of waste pickers and collectors in communities. which is a vital link to our value chain. It is through their effort, which provides a lifeline for many, that we are ensured of our feedstock. For me, it is why the awards bring together all the true winners for the plastic industry. All of our entrants are winners, irrespective of the accolades achieved or not. Everyone who develops a concept or idea that diverts plastic material from our environment and grants it a life after consumer use deserves a praise and to be acknowledged for his or her effort. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any further time, I would like to call upon our current SAPRO chairman for his sins, Mr. Johan Conradi, to say a few words about SAPRO and provide a perspective on the future role we play in industry. Johan has been the chairman of SAPRO for the last few years and serves as a board member of Plastic SA, and he is one of the pioneers of South African Plastic Pact and serves on the Pact steering committee. Johan is also a co-founder and director of MyPlus Recycling Company. With that, Johan, please, you can take over.
Thanks, Phil. Good day, everyone. I'm happy to once again be a part of the SAPRO Best Recycled Product Awards in this year, 2021. Douglas Gregg from Tuffy many years ago dubbed it the Oscars of the plastics industry, and I hope that we'll live up to that again this year. SAPRO hosts these awards biannually to raise awareness and showcase the wide variety of clever products that are locally designed and manufactured using recycled plastics. It's also to grow the demand for plastic recyclate by raising awareness of the versatility and progression in the application, and also to improve market acceptance of locally manufactured recycled plastic products. Furthermore, these awards highlight the important role this industry plays in job creation, diverting plastic waste from landfill, in litter prevention, and to reduce the pressure on non-renewable resources and to grow the economy. Plastic is our wonder material of the last 50 years and has played a major role in enabling improved sanitation, health outcomes, quality of life, and many other things. Amongst its many merits, it plays a major role in distributing food globally and extending the shelf life of most products. In short, it enables the convenient lifestyle we all enjoy today and will continue to do this long into the future. Unfortunately, its strength, however, is also its biggest weakness. It lasts for a very long time in the environment and depletes scarce resources and energy, with plastic now recently being the poster child for litter and pollution in the environment. So what should we all do about this quandary? This is not a problem that will be resolved via social media, or complaining, nor will it be resolved by standing by and not pinning our colors to the post and taking action. To solve the problem of plastic in the environment, we require the entire value chain to onboard and work collaboratively to really solve the problem. Or reframed as a positive statement, to solutioneer towards a circular economy for plastics. We understand there has been too much finger-pointing and scapegoating, too much fence-sitting, too little imagination and commitment, and not enough old-school elbow grease being put into finding innovative end-of-life solutions for our plastic waste. Many organizations like to blame consumers for littering, and there's a lot of truth in that. But from our perspective, we've seen that society has kind of made up its mind in that they want the value chain and producers, which make and sell the problem materials, to take responsibility and solve the issue before their products become litter. This means that brand owners, retailers, NGOs, converters, recyclers, waste management, and collectors should all be working to design better, reuse better, and start including recycled plastic in their original packaging. In this process, some product ranges will have to be replaced by other products, reimagined, redesigned, or phased out completely. Even production and processes redesigned to achieve a circular economy for plastics. This does not mean that jobs will be lost or less products will be manufactured. It just means that different but better products and processes will have to be imagined. I, for one, won't be walking out of Pick n Pay with my mincemeat and bright chops in my hands, or drink my Vida cappuccino from a spout. We need packaging, but clever, circular packaging, which adds value to our lives and will not land up being thrown away. Having said all of this, these awards, which you will see later in our showcase, show what can be done and what is already being done, and should serve as inspiration to others to do more inside their own organization and in collaboration with industry, as is evident in the outcomes of the recent study done by WWF and SAPRO. Declining output and recycling input volumes in South Africa have resulted in us reaching a plateau. A few years ago, the Europeans were far behind South Africa with recycling rates and the range and quality of products that were available using PCR. Unfortunately, it seems that they have now started surpassing us. Incentivized and mandated through the recent EPR regulations, requiring, amongst others, recycled content in packaging and mandatory commitments, amplified by voluntary commitments like the South African Plastics Pact, and in meeting all of this consumer demand for more responsible packaging, we are now poised to really find more end markets, more products, and more innovative solutions. I leave you with this final statement. We need to find new ways to create demand. Demand drives value, value drives investment, and investment drives the cogs of the recycling economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Johan, for setting the scene for us and painting that picture. I can see why you like to refer to this as the Oscars. You have a great on-camera presence. Unfortunately, the James Bond character that you're trying to go for, Daniel Craig's already sewn that one up, but maybe Bruce Willis will stand aside for you for the next Die Hard movie. But well done. Thank you for that, Johan. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Gerald Brewer. He's the head of marketing and corporate development with the Arima Group. And they are our gold sponsors for these awards and a great friend of SAPRO's. He holds a doctorate in chemical engineering and he's based in Austria. And the wonders of COVID makes everybody in one room for today. Arima is a valued and long-standing partner of the SAPRO Best Recycled Product Awards. And Gerald is always willing to attend and share some of his wisdom and experience with South Africa. With thanks and a very warm welcome, welcome Gerald.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be your guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would have loved to visit South Africa to enjoy a face-to-face meeting with you, with our customers, with our partners and friends. My last SAPRO meeting was in 2017. Maybe some of you remember the guy throwing the frisbee through the gala room. So this was not Bruce Willis, this was me, right? These are great memories, and I really have to say I love Africa. So this is a picture my daughter made when we visited Botswana some years ago, and yeah, nature doesn't need people, isn't it? But today I'm not in Africa. I'm sitting here in Austria in a hotel room, and this is one I made last week where I was hiking with my wife. Wonderful countryside, and moments like this always make me think and remember me on this. Plastics. And plastics is also part of our environment, and as plastics is an essential part of our modern life, we have to handle it responsibly. I mean, in the last 60 years, 8,300 million tons of plastic has been produced by our industry. Out of this, 6,300 million tons of plastic waste has been generated. And the crucial question now is how much has been recycled? And this is the answer. 9% of all the plastic waste that has been generated by society, by our industry, has been recycled. And I think this is something we have to change. And regarding change, I think we all got a crash course in the last 18 months. And beside other things, I learned two things. First one, Communication and talking to each other is more important than ever before. And the second one, anything is possible. It just needs a strong will. And will is also something our industry needs. And let me give you one example. What we need, for example, is a paradigm change in plastics packaging. So is it really necessary to have this massive color branding on our packaging? Do we have maybe printing inks useful for recycling? Can we use digital watermarking technologies? Which functionalities do we really need? Or where does monomaterial solutions make sense? Ladies and gentlemen, what you see here, I'm convinced this is a major chance for brands, as future generations will ask for this recycling design. And in my impression, things are now changing. And in my impression is that our industry more and more aligns to solve these problems. Let's have a look to Europe. The Circular Plastics Alliance was signed in 2019, September. And the goal is to work out a master plan, the plastics master plan. And it was signed between the European Commission and the plastic industry. And the goal is this master plan as a basement for political positions and decisions. Yeah, and these 10 million tons at least is the goal. And this is what politics will measure. At the moment, we recycle 3.8 million tons. So what has been done in the last 2 years here in Europe was, first, we did intensive material flow analysis. And out of this, we set up a monitoring system, a voluntary EU-wide monitoring system, which is currently introduced. And out of this material flow analysis, second, we determined, or the plastic industry determined 29 priority products where they see the highest potential to reach these 10 million tons. And third, for these 29 priority products, now recycling guidelines are created, are harmonized, are discussed, as well as the political course is set up to make investments in collection and sorting systems, especially for these priority products. So, and these things are at the moment coordinated within the member states, which is of course the next challenge, but this makes me really confident because it creates a momentum. CPA started with 80 signatories, now 300 signatories. All the plastic associations in Europe are involved in this work, and all the big companies, global companies, Berry Global, BASF, Borealis, Unilever, and so on, all the big recycling companies, also small recycling companies. And this is important, creates a momentum, and will have, and I'm sure about that, a global impact. But, and this is important, the conditions are different in different parts of the world. I mean, this is Europe, and what has been designed for recycling in Europe is not necessarily recyclable in other parts of the world. This is clear. I mean, it always depends on infrastructure and collection systems, on sorting systems, and so on. So it needs diverse and different approaches. And that's why I love the next example. You know the details about the waste picking sector much more better than me. This is relevant not only in Africa, also in Latin America, in Asia. And what Mr. Green did, he organized in Kenya these waste pickers and educated them. And the key success factor was an app on the mobile device. On one hand for education, on the other hand, he did the management. They do the management of the waste stream coming from the street with this mobile app. So Africa is forerunner in using a mobile phone for example, for payment, and also a forerunner in using blockchain technologies. And these are unique properties, and these are advantages that make Mr. Green, for example, possible. Meanwhile, they are running a Arima plant, and they're supplying Unilever. And this example shows the unique opportunities we have in Africa. And together with the experience, this is something you can use and we can use. And this is something I also learned during one of my first business trips for Arima 10 years ago, which was to South Africa. And I was impressed. I mean, out of these 7,000 machines that we installed worldwide, 250 are installed in Africa, and more than 140, meanwhile, are installed in South Africa. And on that point, a big thank you to all of our customers for the trust, for your loyalty. And of course, a big thank you. I cannot see you, Dean, but you can hear me, hopefully. A big thank you to Dean Toy. Dean, once more, you are doing a really great job together with your team. Yeah, drive opportunities, experience, and this is also the reason why we intensify our work in Africa. And the cooperation with Dean Toy. It's a pleasure to announce that Dean and his team is now a member of Arima Group. So Relay is now Arima Africa. We are moving also in a new facility near the old facility. And what is new is also a customer center, testing facility. Yeah, great to have you on board. And as subsidiary of Arima and part of the Arima Group. And Arima Group is meanwhile a group of 7 companies. Arima, Pulu, Plasmac, they are building plastic recycling machinery. UMEC, they are trading and refurbishing used machines. Keycycle for turnkey projects. Powerfill, they are supplying Arima filter systems. And 3S, they are producing the core parts for us, like barrels, like screws, like screens, and so on. And this is our clear mission, to provide and to be part of this drive with our technologies. And some highlights, you know very well, are our PET recycling technologies, our PET recycling technologies like Vacuumite, Vacuum, but also in the polyolefin sector. With the refresher, our customers are able to produce out of post-consumer HDPE waste pellets, which are used for cosmetic packaging. And meanwhile, this is also food contact approved. If you have a packaging input stream, this can produce food contact approved polyolefin pellets. But also in the digital sector, Blueport is our online platform where we want to bring up apps, or where we bring up apps for our customers, like for example spare parts online, to order spare parts quickly and fast, and to increase the availability of your recycling plant. But these technologies, as I said, is just one part. It's our part at Arima Group. But the title of my presentation was "Let Us Make Plastics Circular." And what I'm convinced is that the solutions will look like this table here. So colorful and diverse. And what we need is a clever use of different plastics materials and reduction wherever it is possible. Second, it needs the design for recycling in order to enhance material streams with the highest potential for recycling. Quality standards I mentioned, and also digital technologies that help us and help the whole value chain to integrate recycling. I think that in the future, 50 to 60% globally of the plastic waste can be handled by mechanical recycling. For the rest, we will need energy recovery, we will need chemical recycling methods coming up. Further, it is important, yes, it is important to have a long-term plan, but it does need immediate actions, and that's why I love and like the example also with Mr. Green. Nobody can make this change alone. I mentioned this at the beginning already, and in Africa, together with Arima Africa, we look forward to intensify our cooperation to develop plastic recycling further here on that continent. Also together with new customers, with existing customers, and with associations like SAPO. Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you, Johan, for your dedicated work and for driving recycling. The request for recycling will increase. This is fact. It needs different and diverse approaches around the globe, and the stronger the will is to integrate recycling into the plastics value chain, to make a real change, the more successful our plastics industry will be in the future. I'm excited to be part of that. I'm excited to be part of the SAPRO meeting. Hopefully, next time I sit together with you on such a table. I wish you a fruitful meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you for giving us your passion, your insight, your wisdom, and mostly your support. Really appreciate that. The fact that you've actually joined us on this technical platform here shows actually the wonders of technology, and also that we truly do live in a global village, which is actually making what we're doing here even more important in our striving for a true circular economy. Thank you, Gerald. Thank you very much for your insight. Also, I'd like to just mention to you, you might have noticed that there's some poll questions that are streamed to you that you see on your screens. If you have a look in your chat box, you can actually participate in these to get your opinions, and you can have your say, trying to make this as interactive and your participation as much as possible. It's quite interesting in terms of our audience here that actually we are reaching 12.5% of our brand owners, and over 30% of our audience are retailers, meaning we are getting the right people to be watching and to be a part of what we're trying to do here. So moving on, I'd like to introduce our next guest, who is Quinton Williams. Quinton is well known in the waste industry, having worked at Jaffarus and Green Cape and Woolworths. He is a seasoned project manager and has served on the committee of the Institute of Waste Management in the Western Cape. Quinton is currently the business manager at Polico, our gold sponsors. Quinton, thank you for your support and welcome.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you everyone for attending the awards. Polico is a proud to be a gold sponsor of the SAPRO Best Recycled Plastic Product Awards 2021. The award supports the creation of new end-use markets for recyclate, highlights the need for design for recycling, and increase the diversion of a valuable waste stream away from landfill. One of Polico's main aims is to make waste a valuable resource that works for our economy. SAPRO, as well as the awards, helps us towards this goal by highlighting the innovation in the plastic recycling sector, which are helping us stimulate end-use market demand. Polico invests in strengthening the full recycling value chain and ways to support recycling efforts in South Africa. As a vital part of the recycling value chain is creating innovative end-use products to further develop the end-use markets for recyclate. By using recycled plastic material in your products, a greater demand is created for more material to be collected and recycled into pellets. We're encouraged by the awards, which showcases the developments in our industry and highlights exciting opportunities for new products that are being developed from recycled plastic material. I would like to say a warm welcome to everyone and again illustrate our proud support of this awards. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Quinton. Thanks very much. And again, thank you for your support. Watch out on screen. There's another poll coming up shortly. But now it's my pleasure to introduce a new face to the screen, Mr. Sinead Francis. Sinead is the new stakeholder relationship manager for Petco, our silver sponsors. Sinead has extensive experience in the field of sustainable development and holds a Master's of Philosophy, Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies. Sinead, thank you. Thank you for your support and welcome to this afternoon's ceremony.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. And thanks for the opportunity for Petco to present here this afternoon. As South Africa prepares to navigate through the uncertainty of mandatory EPR, it is important to reflect on the rollout of EPR to date. As Bill mentioned, I'm Junaid Francis, the new Stakeholder Relations Manager at Petco, and I'll be sharing with you some of the insights from the Petco team on the challenges and opportunities of EPR in South Africa. I'll start with some context on Petco. Petco is a PRO, a producer responsibility organization, set up a voluntary EPR scheme for the PET sector way back in 2004. It was a proactive and strategic approach. The beverage sector played a key leadership role in this process. Back then, there was an active recycling sector, particularly in paper and metal, some plastics, and to a lesser degree, glass. PET bottles were sporadically collected and recycled or exported, depending on the demand from the East and the state of the currency. When Petco was incorporated and EPR fees raised from its members, a plan was put into place to create value and demand by contracting and funding recyclers with an end-use market in the value chain. Initially, staple fiber and geotextiles, expanding to include strapping and ultimately bottle-to-bottle. The collection of post-consumer PET bottles grew from under 10,000 tons per annum to over 90,000 tons per annum, with the majority of that collection done by the informal sector. Our experience in applying EPR both at home and to other developing countries to our north has uncovered a number of challenges, right? Firstly, in developed countries, PROs generally manage their own collection. This means they are largely focused on collection as opposed to enabling collection and recycling. In developing markets, collection is largely enabled by informal collection. So traditional developed world models of PROs don't typically apply universally, and especially not here in a context like South Africa. PRO activity needs to encourage and enable collection and recycling instead of directly being involved with collection. This means applying stimulus at different points in the value chain to overcome barriers. What are these barriers? Right, we feel that generally they fall into three categories, but they're all linked, right? The first one being that there's not enough street value to incentivize collection or recovery of materials from your MRFs or your landfills. There's not enough capacity or capability to recycle, which limits the demand for recyclable materials and in turn reduces its prices. And there's not enough end-use demand for recycled content. Indirect support means trying to address these issues to overcome barriers to collection and recycling. We have found that indirect support has a number of challenges, versus actually simply taking charge of collection. You have to work with existing systems that have developed organically over time versus just starting from a clean slate or starting from scratch. Recycling is not a traditional business and can involve difficult actors sometimes. Scrap dealers, informal traders, mafia-style networks. Many acting in the value chains are some of the most vulnerable in our community. We can't just take their jobs by implementing a developed world solution. Overall, you're essentially trying to create a pull system versus a push system. When looking at EPR, in some areas and countries where voluntary EPR is well developed, we have seen that common understanding of its purpose and buy-in is still not a given, right? In many cases, support from industry is dependent on the threat of taxes or sanctions, and support grows or wanes, as these threats grow or decrease. As such, support is always consistent in a voluntary environment. It's more applicable in Kenya and Tanzania, but not in South Africa. Often get good support from international brands, but local brands tend to have a lower public profile or less interest. Free riding is common, particularly if the action of the few is seen to be keeping the wolves of taxes and sanctions at bay for everyone. EPR or PROs are misunderstood by converters as lobby organizations for a specific substrate or material, or a shield to protect their interests, or even a way of securing recycled materials for their vertically integrated businesses. The true objectives of EPR are not entirely universally understood yet and accepted. Whilst PRO or EPR initiatives that rely on value can be effective for some materials, they really struggle with no value or low value materials. So informal collectors often have the best understanding of what is and isn't practically recyclable. Low value, no value materials are often simply left behind or on curbside, on the street, or in a landfill. Although some materials benefit from the high value materials that are targeted, the effect or cross-subsidization impact is much less in informal collection systems than formal. Right? As such, they are ultimately unlikely to address the perceived public need to address, plastic pollution. In some cases, this can be addressed by creating recycling capacity and end-use demand, but it often requires high levels of support to create value when none exists. There may even be that whilst informal collection works for high-value materials, it may never work well for the balance. This creates a long-term tension between pushing for more formal separation at source projects using formal collection systems and that of using informal collection systems. So in a market like South Africa, we are of the opinion that PROs should focus on creating demand and value, right? This would require a multifaceted approach that starts with a design for recyclability, as we heard from the other speakers, and ends with a market for recyclable materials or RMAT. We also recognize that effective support generally relies on a commercial transaction. We can increase the price of recyclables by creating a demand for it or by direct subsidy to the recyclers, or both. Demand or market pricing is generally more important, right? The PETCO approach is therefore currently to support recyclers. We want to create demand, so incentivize recyclers to buy. We also know that without a fair price, collection will not supply enough material. However, the price paid by recyclers also affects the price of recycled materials. These have to be affordable, and therefore there's a price ceiling, right? Or else there won't be a circular economy. It is very difficult to support materials that have no end use or that no one wants to buy. We would support the price. We could support the price at the buyback centers, right? But we feel an intervention at the recycler stage is simpler and more effective, right? There are fewer of them, and this is kind of the point where you see transformation in the plastic substrate. Under Section 18, however, we need to move more closer to collection and collectors, and support for formal collection will be easier than that for the informal. Given the challenges mentioned, right, we as PETCO encourage greater collaboration between the various PROs. This collaboration could support large-scale separation at source projects, which I think all PROs will agree is much needed in the South African context. More consumer awareness, right, driving the behavioral change that we'd like to see. Support for waste reclaimers, whether this is through infrastructure or collection fee as now required under the new regulations. Promoting design for recyclability with all our members, collective and strategic engagement with municipalities, and lastly, technological advances for better transparency within the value chain. I mean, that will benefit all of us. I hope these insights has given you some food for thought as we gear up for mandatory EPR in South Africa. Thank you for your time and your attention, and thank you once again to SAPRO for the opportunity to engage with this audience this afternoon. Thank you. That's all from me and PETCO. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Junaid. And it's great to have you on board with SAPRO in your new role with PETCO. Right, so now I have the privilege of introducing an old friend of the industry, Eddie van Os. Eddie has been involved in packaging for many, many years. And if this were the Oscars, as we like to think of it, for SAPRO, the Oscars for the plastics industry, then Eddie is probably someone like Jack Nicholson. We're never quite sure what he's going to do next. Eddie has served on the global packaging manager for Unilever and now runs his own consulting company, Sloop Consulting, serving amongst others well-known FMCGs and SAPRO. Eddie shares with us a presentation of a study by the World Wildlife Foundation South Africa, SAPRO, the Swedish government, and the SA Plastics Pact, titled Plastics, From Recycling to Post-Consumer Recyclate, Industry Views on Barriers and Opportunities in South Africa. My pleasure to welcome Eddie van Os.
Geez, thank you, Bill. That's quite an intro. Yeah, today I've only got 10 minutes to share a lot of information with you. So let me just cut directly to the chase. I want to take you through some of the key findings from the qualitative research that we did on barriers and opportunities in the plastics recycling value chain. Now, just to be clear, what I'm going to tell you today is the perception from all the stakeholders in the value chain. It's not my perception, or it's not Jehan or SAPRO. It's what we've been told by the stakeholders in the plastic recycling value chain. Now, this quote that I've got here, demand is the driver for value and value drives recycling. This is a quote that came from one of the people that I interviewed, and it's quite apt that it fits in with the theme of today. I wasn't briefed by Jehan about demand. It seems to be that everyone's speaking about demand. So, and for me personally, I think demand is crucial. It drives everything. Now, just to set the context and the reasons why we did this research. You know, the state of recycling and the conversion of PCR content in plastics packaging is not growing in this country. You know, recycling rates have stagnated since 2018. You know, there could be a number of reasons for this. If you look at the plastics that is recycled, 70% of it comes from landfill. Now, that could be a reason why the recycling rates are low. It means that the recyclers are getting dirty waste. It's highly contaminated, very difficult to recycle. Only 2/3 is converted into recyclate. That could be a consequence of the dirty or contaminated waste that they're getting. Only 13% PCR is used in plastics packaging, and I guess most of that's going into rPET. Very little is going into polyolefins. There's not a big demand for PCR and polyolefins at the moment, and I guess a lot of that is to do with non-food grade PCR being available. Another let's say issue is the value chain is currently very complex. So if you look at the plastic recycling value chain, there are a lot of stakeholders in that value chain, which makes the whole thing very, very complex. D4R is not a job fundamental. That for me is a key problem. You know, some companies are doing it very well, whereas I guess the majority, it's nowhere on their radar. Collection and recycling initiatives have all been voluntary to date. You know, so the PROs are currently doing a very good job, but you know, through lack of members, lack of funding, there's only so much they can do. And then, you know, just the lack of PCR is just, it's slowing down the circular economy for plastics packaging. You know, that is a real issue. So these are the reasons why we initiated this research. Okay, so the main objective was to identify the barriers. What we did is we interviewed stakeholders from across the entire value chain. So this is going from the virgin polymer suppliers right through to the PROs. Okay, if you look at this pie chart, you'll see all the stakeholders: converters, brand owners, retailers, recyclers, informal collectors, waste management companies, academia, industry bodies, PROs. So we spoke to everyone. We sent out invites to over 50 stakeholders. We had about 11 declines, which is very disappointing. The online survey that went out, we had a very, very poor response rate, only 9%. But through the one-on-one interviews that I did, the information that I got back was just so good. The methodology that I followed is I asked each person or each stakeholders the same question. And that was, you know, what each sector in the value chain can do to increase the recycling rate for plastic and the PCR usage for plastic. Then the other question was, what are the obstacles preventing them from doing more? I asked them to rate each sector as to how they are doing on a scale of 1 to 10. And then the last question was, who in the value chain has the single biggest influence on driving up recycling rates and driving up the demand for PCR content? Okay, so very simple, the same questions asked to each sector of the value chain. So they were talking about themselves, and they were also talking about how they perceive the other stakeholders to be doing. Now, I found these one-on-one interviews exceptionally interesting. You know, we set aside 45 minutes per interview. Some of these ran over 2 hours. I don't think one interview was under 30 minutes. I found that the people that I interviewed were very, very transparent. They were very keen to talk. They were very keen to share their views. They were very, very honest. I did make it clear that these interviews were going to be anonymous. And I guess that's why the openness and transparency was there. These are just some of the quotes that I put up there. But there are some fantastic quotes that came out of these interviews. And I wish I could share all of them with you. The one I liked was the recycler is the heart and soul of the whole value chain. And I guess Johan will be very happy to see that. Okay, so some of the key barriers that were mentioned by these stakeholders. And these barriers are focused purely on recyclers. I can't talk through every single stakeholder because we just don't have enough time. So this is how industry, this is how the value chain perceives the recyclers. And this is the barriers that they think that the recyclers face. Okay, and you know, for me, the biggest one now is demand, and I've highlighted it. You know, without the demand, the recyclers can't invest in new equipment. And without the new equipment, they can't produce a good quality product on a consistent basis, which means they can't supply the market. That then in turn leads to a lack of confidence in the converters. You know, they'll be reluctant to buy PCR from a recycler, which then creates which just basically then breaks down the whole value chain. So for me, you know, the demand has got to be there. Without demand, nothing will happen. Okay, and I mentioned breaking the value chain. You know, if it breaks down at the converter's not buying from the recycler, it means it impacts the entire value chain. It impacts the collector, the informal collector. There's no value in the material. You won't collect it, which he doesn't get an income. Okay, another big obstacle that was mentioned quite often was the lack of collaboration between the converter and the recycler, and also, I guess, the brand owner. There's a perception that the recyclers can't produce a quality product, which means they're very reluctant to run it. And that breaks down the whole development phase of developing a PCR grade that is fit for purpose. Okay, and just some of the comments was that they think that the quality is so bad that it won't be fit for purpose. The brand owner won't accept it. It's going to impact the operational efficiencies at the converter. They're going to lose money, and it just develops into a finger pointing exercise where nothing happens and everyone blames each other. So those were, you know, very briefly, some of the key barriers facing the recyclers. Now, I also asked the stakeholders, what are the opportunities that you think? And so these are some of the opportunities. And again, I've highlighted the word collaboration with brand owners. For me, and also what came from the interviews is that it's critical that there is let's call it a tripartite alliance or some kind of collaboration between the brand owner, the converter, and the recycler. Now, I can speak from experience. At Unilever, we were very, very good at doing this. So we would bring all parties together and we would develop a grade of PCR that we could put into our products. be it Sunlight Dishwash or Handy Andy or something else. Now, I guess that kind of methodology needs to be picked up by more stakeholders if we want to move this forward. Okay. Design for recycling is something that I think, sorry, I must stop saying that the respondents thought was also critical. You know, if the pack is not designed to be recycled, then we're dead in the water. So every single thing that goes onto the marketplace must be 100% recyclable. That is crucial. And then, you know, creating new markets for PCR. At the moment, we've been downcycling. You know, the PCR is going into pipes and bins and push bikes. We need to try and upcycle it so it goes back into packaging. It's got to have more value. And that's where the recyclers, they need to be proactive, and they need to market their products better. If they have a product or PCR grade that is fit for purpose, they need to really market that well and be proactive and engage with the converters and do proof of concept, proof of principle trials. Very, very important. And also, you know, recyclers must improve their image. If you're asking what that means, a recycler is basically a raw material supplier. So they at the same level as a virgin polymer supplier. But if you ask the stakeholders to compare recycler versus the virgin polymer supplier, it's very, very different. So I know Johan hates to hear this, but you know, the product needs to be nicely branded. It needs to be presentable. It needs to have all the relevant MSDSs and TDSs and COAs, etc., etc. Okay. Then just moving on to the broader value chain. I guess you can't read this this infographic. This is available on the SAPRA website. So the full report is available on SAPRA website, and I urge you to please to have a look at it. There's some very, very valuable information there. So what I was saying earlier, if one of these stakeholders or one of these links in this value chain breaks, the whole value chain breaks down. If the informal collector decides not to collect PET beverage bottles, that's going to impact the recycler, the converter, the brand owner, the retailer. Everything breaks down. You know, if there's no demand for polyprop, then it impacts the informal collector and everyone else. So just, if I've got time, just very briefly, you know, some of the interventions or roles that the various stakeholders can play, and I've focused here on the direct stakeholders, not the indirect, such as the PROs, government. The virgin polymer producers, you know, they need to advocate plastics, the benefits of plastics, and they need to promote the recycling and the use of PCR content. For me, that's very, very important. The converters, they need to proactively encourage the use of PCR. Instead of pushing back, they need to use it as a competitive benefit, and they need to go out and engage the brand owners and sell PCR and sell the benefits of PCR. And also they need to manufacture for recycling. You know, don't manufacture a product that is not recyclable. Or question the brand owner if they are asked to manufacture a product that cannot be recycled. The brand owners, you know, for me, stop saying for me, the view was that D4R must be done. At the moment, there are not many brand owners that are doing it. It's not a job fundamental. The SA Plastics Pact is pushing this very hard. This is something that should be a job fundamental for every single brand owner. Also, the brand owners need to increase their PCR usage where possible. I know it's not possible in polyolefins for food contact, but for personal care, home care, and secondary and tertiary packaging. They can create a demand for PCR. And that is critical. That is a very, very important role for the brand owners. You know, the retailers, the view was that the retailers can do a much better job at talking to the consumer at point of purchase. The consumer doesn't know what PCR stands for. And by the way, it's post-consumer recycled. I should have said that earlier. But they don't understand the social and environmental benefits of using PCR. And there's a big job to be done there in educating and informing the consumer about PCR and the benefits to the environment and social benefits. The consumers, we need to help the consumers make informed buying decisions. And this is being done via OPRL. OPRL is on-pack recycling labels, not yet mandatory, but it's something that is very necessary, and that will help the consumers make an informed decision when they're buying a product. You know, the role of collectors and some of the obstacles was that they are supplying a dirty product to the recyclers, which impacts the whole process. That somehow needs to change. What was very interesting, talking to, when I interviewed a person from the Informal Collectors Association, or let's say call it ARROW, they viewed themselves as raw material suppliers, which I found very interesting. You know, we think of them, or the public think of them as criminals. They see themselves as raw material suppliers, which I think is very, very interesting. And then the recyclers, for them it's critical that they can supply a good quality product, fit for purpose, consistently. It's pointless getting a material, and I've been through this during my days at Unilever. It cannot change from batch to batch. It's got to be consistent across the entire batch. So, I mean, if the color changes, or there's too many black spots, or it smells too badly, there's pushback and there's drama. And then lastly, if you wanted to know which stakeholder has the greatest influence, it was a brand owner. So all the stakeholders in the value chain, they thought that the brand owner had the biggest role to play. They can create the demand. So that's a bit of pressure on the brand owners. And that's it. That's where I end. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for your perspective. And thank you for that endorsement of that the brand owners are key to what we are trying to achieve here. Thank you, Jack. I'm sorry, Eddie. My Oscar illusion again. We're now moving on to the main feature of the awards ceremony, and that is the awards themselves. If Phil Seremi and I had our way, we would be recognized as Robert De Niro and Denzel Washington of this awards ceremony, but it may turn out that we're more like Billy Crystal and Eddie Murphy. I'm now going to ask Phil to run us through the finalists and the categories for the awards ceremony. Phil, over to you.
Thank you, Bill. As you've mentioned, now we are entering the parts that our program has been waiting for. This year we receive entries from a wide range of companies spanning a super range of products. And due to the overlap between the various categories, our judges were compelled to consolidate the original 7 categories into the 3 main categories. And then we had an overall winner with the finalists for the prizes as follows. We start with the category under technical and engineering. The products that were submitted under this category are the ISO wood, skirting, and dado rails made from 100% extended polystyrene recyclate. This recyclate happened to be generated by the same company. So they made sure that the scrap does not go to the landfill, and they found ways of making use of the scrap and creating these amazing products. And the next product is the AgriFlow conduit. It is manufactured by AgriFlow with 100% MyPollen post-consumer recycled high-density polyethylene recyclate provided by MyPlus Recyclers. With notable compression strength of the outer layer of the conduit, this conduit has the potential to enable growth of the optical fiber market significantly. And the third product is Toyota Air Conditioner Duct. It is manufactured by Adventure Automotive with 66% MyPollen PCR high-density polyethylene recyclate, which is also provided by MyPlus Recycling. This automotive part conforms to very strict quality requirements and is a critical component of their vehicles. Very encouraging that we see some of the recycling initiatives taking place in the automotive industry, and we hope the likes will also follow suit. And the next product is the Phoenix water tank. This roto-molded tank with 98% MyPollen PCR. It's a high-density polyethylene and has a long expectancy and demonstrates the fruits of collaboration between the manufacturer, the recycler, which in this case is MyPlus. They managed to find a suitable end-of-life solution for a difficult waste stream, the material came from the Coca-Cola high-density bottle caps. Again, an interesting development where you see a collaboration between a manufacturer and a recycler, creating a value-added product. And the next product is Taflex plastic pallet, which is made by Taflex Recycler. This product is made of polywood comprising of mixed plastic waste. It is a durable, reusable pallet and is splinter-free. It's also hygienic and can be steam clean and is incredibly resilient to forklift abuse. With the common application of polywood being street furniture like benches and bins, this application is welcomed innovation. And the next product is the Taflex Red Trap. This spotless white red trap comprising mixed plastic waste is a well-designed niche market product and is made for a specific customer that would like to keep the rodent alive, poison-free, and eventual feeding for owls. And the last product from Taflex is an owl house. It is a product that has been specifically designed to provide safe housing for owls who have been removed from their rapidly dwindling natural habitat. Again, made of problematic mixed plastic post-consumer recycled waste. Last but not least, in the category is the Danone School Desk. The desk is an outstanding initiative of a Danone school project requiring learners to collect clean yogurt tubs and other domestic packaging waste. And it pays forward to a less privileged learner who received a recycled plastic desk. The desk is a neat, steady product made of polypropylene recyclate provided by Taflex and demonstrate a brand owner commitment to education and awareness raising and finding an end-of-life solutions for the products, which is truly commendable. Ladies and gentlemen, the next category is the consumer and leisure, and the entries are as follows. The first entry is Aries Rough Tote, which is manufactured by Usegbo with polyprop recycled from MyPlus. This 110 ml large injection molded product showcases Aries' long-standing commitment to recycling and consumer awareness. It is with high visibility labeling stating our black is now green and contains 100% recycled content. And the second, and which is the last within the category, is a Pick n Pay supermarket trolley, which is manufactured by Supercart. MyPollen provided the PCR, MyPlus provided the PCR for this product, and the PCR is MyPollen material. This large injection molded article lives up to the rigors of outside storage and consumer abuse. With 50% polyethylene post-consumer recycled content, the judges loved this embossed insert in the handle telling the consumer about the 50% recycled content. And the third category come to the is a packaging category, where all the packaging materials entries were consolidated. The first entrant is Coca-Cola Bonaqua 500 ml recycled PET bottle. It is manufactured by Alpla Group with recycled PET from Extrupet. The high recycled PET volumes are currently used in bottles for carbonated drinks, flavored cool drinks, and other food packaging. And it is not new to the South African market. This product requires a high technical ingenuity, as it was for application in holding unflavored prepared water, which is very sensitive to any odor and taste that could migrate from the recycled packaging into the water. The bottle shows good clarity in contact with water, and the bluish tint masks the slight grayish color from the 100% PCR content. And the next product is the Pedzop range, manufactured by Impact Versapack with recycled PET from Extrupet. This innovative punnet design eliminates the need for an absorption pad in each tray typically used for packaging fresh meat, chicken, or fish. It furthermore allows for attractive packaging, minimizing visibility of liquid and leaks during transportation. And the next product is the Recycle HDPE household cleaner bottle from Unilever. It is manufactured by Impact Plastics using MyPollen polyethylene high-density recyclate, which has a limited food contact application. As you all know, at the moment, the industry is still struggling to produce HDPE product, which is food contact compliant. The material is, of course, provided by MyPlus. This personal and domestic care packaging can accommodate high volumes of good quality recyclate and is made of existing machines and molds. The household cleaner bottle is odor-free and consistent in color and is evidence of a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, the last entrance in this category is the Arpet Grape Punnet, which is also manufactured by Impact Versapack with the recyclate supplied by Extrupet. It contains 100% recycled post-consumer content, thus enabling South African farmers to export grapes to European markets, whilst complying with the packaging regulations in the European bloc. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank all our entrants for submitting their amazing products and showcasing their commitment to a circular plastic economy. With that, I would like to hand over back to Bill to bring us our next item on the agenda.
Right, thank you, Phil. I can feel the anticipation growing here, and it is my honor to actually present who are the actual winners out of these fantastic finalists, these fantastic entrants that we've had. So the winners and the runners-up will now be announced, and we go to the first category, which is technical and engineering. Congratulations to the team behind the Phoenix water tank. And now the winner of the Gold Award, who blew the judges away, is... Congratulations to everyone behind the team of Toyota and their air conditioning duct. Congratulations. Right, the next category is consumer and leisure. Our runner-up and silver award recipient is... Congratulations. And in the consumer and leisure category, the Gold Award winner is... Congratulations to the team behind the Pick n Pay supermarket trolley for carting the gold away. Right. Okay, now we go on to our third category, which is packaging. It's always well supported and a highly contested category. And the winners and soaking up the silver award are... Well done to the Impact team behind the PetZorb range. As I said, this is a highly contested category, and it worked out and it transpires that there is a tie for gold place. And the first gold goes to... Congratulations to the team, Unilever, MyPlus, and everyone else involved for that. And the second gold in tied place in this packaging category goes to... Well done to the Bonaqua team behind that rPET 500ml bottle. Right, just to build the tension a little bit more before we move on to the top winner of the day, there's a very special entry that just needs to be acknowledged. This entry needs special mention as the judges were not only impressed with the innovative design of this product using mixed plastic material, but the brand owner's commitment to education and awareness raising amongst our youth, the competition element in collecting material, and the CSI drive. An outstanding initiative was shown by the brand owner, Danone, for the recycled plastic school desk. And we just thought we needed to highlight the special initiative and the special achievement that they've done. Right, and now this is it. This is the last award of the day, the big one, the grand finale. The SAPRO Award goes to This entry is blazing a trail and opening avenues for retailers to demonstrate circularity in an everyday product. This large consumer-facing product is durable, contains 50% post-consumer recycled content, and promotes recycling at a highly visible manner. A worthy winner of the SAPRO Award, Pick n Pay for their supermarket trolley. Congratulations to that team, a deserving winner. Well, that's it. Just my thanks to the production team behind the scenes, to our guest speakers this afternoon, particularly to our sponsors, without whom we wouldn't even be here today. And to you for watching, to all the members of SAPRO, for your support of this initiative and this very worthy drive. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for being a part of it. And we look forward to seeing you in 2022, either live or perhaps like this again. I thought it worked extremely well. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to pick up your parking tickets.